Welcome to our U.S. Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some fascinating stories from around the globe. First up, China and ASEAN have just wrapped up negotiations on a new free trade agreement, now called the 3.0 version. This deal is packed with 9 new chapters focusing on digital economy, green growth, and supply chain cooperation, all aimed at boosting regional trade amidst U.S.-China tensions. It's a big step towards regional stability and economic integration, especially for small and medium enterprises, signaling China's commitment to counter U.S. protectionism. Next, we turn to Indonesia, where the fight for justice continues. Chinese-Indonesians are calling for the government to officially acknowledge the mass rapes of Chinese-Indonesian women during the 1998 riots. Despite documented cases and ongoing memorials, justice remains unachieved, and the community is still seeking recognition to promote healing and reconciliation. It's a reminder of how historical wounds can linger and the importance of acknowledgment for societal progress. Finally, in Washington, D.C., tragedy struck outside the Jewish Museum where 2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot and killed. Authorities are investigating this senseless act, which has been condemned as anti-Semitic terrorism. The incident has sparked a wave of prayers and calls for justice, highlighting the ongoing challenges in combating hate crimes. Please continue to watch for more details on these stories. South China Morning Post reports that China has recently finalized an upgraded free trade agreement with ASEAN, marking a significant step in strengthening regional economic ties amidst ongoing U.S.-China trade tensions. The new deal, dubbed version 3.0, features 9 additional chapters focusing on digital and green economies, supply chain integration, and customs procedures. This comprehensive pact aims to bolster cooperation in cybersecurity, electronic payments, infrastructure, and the development of technical standards, particularly in new energy vehicles and electronics. With bilateral trade reaching nearly $1 trillion in 2024, the agreement responds to U.S. tariffs that have severely impacted Southeast Asian nations, including Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. Experts believe this move not only addresses current trade conflicts but also sets a precedent for global cooperation and peace, emphasizing the importance of open markets and regional resilience in the face of U.S. protectionism. The deal underscores China's strategic intent to deepen regional economic integration, attract FDI, and promote a shared development vision, especially as the U.S. tariffs continue to create uncertainties in the global supply chain. South China Morning Post also highlights the enduring scars of the 1998 Indonesian riots, where ethnic Chinese women suffered mass rapes and violence during a period of political upheaval that led to President Suharto's resignation. Despite over 2 decades passing, calls for official acknowledgement and justice remain strong among Chinese-Indonesians, who commemorate the tragedy through cultural rituals like eating bitter melon as a symbol of resilience and collective memory. The community's efforts to resist forgetting include placing ancestral tablets and wearing black ribbons, emphasizing the need for the Indonesian government to recognize the racial and gender-based violence inflicted upon them. The violence, rooted in the Dutch colonial legacy of segregation and exacerbated by Suharto's oppressive regime, was fueled by negative narratives and systemic discrimination against Chinese-Indonesians. Though President Joko Widodo expressed regret for past human rights violations, he stopped short of explicitly acknowledging the racial and gender violence, hindering reconciliation. Community leaders argue that true acknowledgement and historical transparency are essential for healing and fostering a mature, inclusive nation, as they continue to seek justice and recognition for their suffering. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reports a tragic event outside the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where 2 Israeli embassy staff members attending a Jewish event were shot and killed at close range. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem described the act as senseless, emphasizing that authorities are actively investigating and seeking justice for the victims. Israeli UN Ambassador Danny Danon condemned the shooting as a depraved act of anti-Semitic terrorism, underscoring the brutal nature of the attack. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed that law enforcement agencies are working together to uncover the motive, but no details about the suspect have been released, leaving the incident shrouded in mystery and concern over anti-Semitic violence. Al Jazeera echoes the somber tone, confirming the deaths of the embassy staff and highlighting the immediate response from U.S. authorities, including Homeland Security and the Department of Justice. The American Jewish Committee expressed devastation over the violence, which took place just outside a venue hosting a Jewish event, intensifying fears of anti-Semitic hostility. U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi, who was present at the scene, pledged to work tirelessly to learn more and bring the perpetrator to justice. Despite the lack of specific details about the suspect or motive, the incident has sparked widespread condemnation and calls for action, with officials and community leaders emphasizing the importance of unity and resilience in the face of such heinous acts. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation vividly recounts the dramatic encounter between South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Donald Trump in the Oval Office, highlighting the ambush-like atmosphere that unfolded. Ramaphosa, initially engaging with polite diplomacy and a thoughtful gift, attempted to address the sensitive issue of South Africa's alleged genocide and land seizures. However, the situation rapidly deteriorated when Trump, prompted by a pre-arranged video, launched into inflammatory rhetoric featuring apartheid-era songs and footage of white farmers' graves, creating an excruciating spectacle for Ramaphosa and his delegation. Trump's aggressive display was designed to reinforce claims of violence against white farmers, while Ramaphosa desperately tried to defend his country's record, emphasizing that much of the footage was from radical groups not representing the government. The scene culminated in Trump questioning whether genocide was occurring, seemingly backing away from his earlier assertions, yet leaving a tense and chaotic impression of diplomatic fragility. CNN reports on the U.S. Senate's contentious move to overturn California's vehicle emission waivers, exposing a fierce political battle over environmental regulation and the filibuster's future. Senate Republicans, defying the advice of the parliamentarian and the bipartisan support from the GAO, pushed to nullify California's authority to set its own emission standards, particularly targeting the state's ambitious plan to phase out gas-powered cars by 2035. Democrats decry this as a dangerous overreach that could undermine the entire federal regulatory system, risking chaos and higher energy costs. The Republicans argue they are not breaking Senate rules but are instead challenging the authority of the GAO, framing their actions as a defense of states' rights. This high-stakes confrontation reveals deeper partisan tensions, with Democrats warning that weakening the filibuster could set a dangerous precedent, threatening the stability of federal agencies and environmental policies nationwide. The Sydney Morning Herald opinion offers a satirical yet insightful look at the contrasting VIP travel arrangements of Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Paul Keating. Trump's lavish gift of a private jet, described as a flying palace, epitomizes his penchant for excess and spectacle, which he justifies as patriotic, despite concerns about corruption and constitutional restrictions on accepting foreign gifts. In stark contrast, Keating's experience with aging VIP aircraft, including the humiliating necessity of flying in a second-hand Boeing 707 and the subsequent public uproar over the cost of new planes, underscores Australia's more restrained approach. The piece humorously critiques the extravagance of Trump's jet, likening it to a gaudy, opulent palace in the sky, while highlighting how Australia's political system prevents prime ministers from unilaterally accepting such foreign largesse, emphasizing a culture of accountability and modesty that starkly contrasts with America's more flamboyant displays of wealth and influence. The Toronto-based Yahoo US reports that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney revealed ongoing discussions with the United States regarding Canada's potential participation in the ambitious Golden Dome missile defense system, a $175 billion multi-layered project designed to deploy space-based and ground-based capabilities to detect and intercept missiles at all stages of their flight, including the unprecedented step of placing U.S. weapons in space. Carney acknowledged conversations with President Trump and senior officials, emphasizing that while Canada considers the protective benefits for its citizens, the decision involves complex military considerations and diplomatic negotiations. The system aims to counter the increasingly sophisticated missile threats from China and Russia, with the U.S. planning to have it fully operational by 2029. Although Canada is a partner in the existing North American Aerospace Defense Command, Carney pointed out that the Golden Dome discussions might influence Canada without necessarily involving it directly, hinting at a nuanced and cautious approach amid shifting U.S.-Canada relations, especially as Carney has recently distanced himself from the traditional alliance, noting that cooperation is conditional and not obligatory, amidst tensions heightened by Trump's provocative remarks about Canada's status. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6 do brief via email.